Okay, I believe. Oh, what is this? Sorry. I believe we are live. So, hello everybody. Welcome to Livestream number 11 on my channel. Today, again, I will be breaking down one of my techniques that I used recently on Heroes of Bronze. And I hope everybody's working as it should. There is actually a new system on YouTube, and I'm just getting like for these live streams, and I'm getting familiar with it. You know, it's like every time some system like Facebook or YouTube is updated, I get completely confused and it takes me some time before I learn how to do everything again. But hopefully, I will wait for some reactions in the chat. I will hopefully get green light that everything works as it should. And let me have a sip here. And what we're going to be creating today, or doing, or I will be showing you, maybe you will join me to do it as well. You probably saw the banner, right? This is the title, the cinematic title. It's work in progress, but it's a cinematic title for Heroes of Bronze. And I created it in 3D in Blender and then textured it in Substance Painter. So it was real simple, not really that straightforward. It was quite a lot of manual work, but the technique is not actually that difficult. But let me hide this here, and let me unhide some lights here. Ooh, mysterious reveal. You can see that indeed this is a 3D model. Let me actually crank up this HDRI, and here it is. Bum, 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 bum. Heroes of Bronze title. I always wanted to have something like this for my film, like those, you know, fancy titles that you see in films like Troy, Lord of the Rings, Gladiator, Total War games, for example. Yes. So yeah, I wanted to learn how to do that, and this is indeed a 3D title rendered in Eevee now, and I plan to use this, or maybe an updated version of this, in my film, using this as the main title of Heroes of Bronze project. But before we dive in, I will quickly recap what happened on the project in these last few weeks and months, because I think I haven't been streaming for a while now. One thing was I took a little holiday, so sorry for that. I needed to unwind a little. I worked a lot on the project, so yeah, I needed a little rest, and I feel rested now with all the craziness going on. You know, the second wave of COVID coming and everything. I'm really glad I took the opportunity to rest a bit, because now I'm kind of feeling like I'm ready for whatever's coming when it comes to COVID, and we'll see how it ends. But let's not talk about that. I'm sure you don't want to hear it from me. And there are some people in the chat. Hello, Digital Studio. Hello, Sayamdeep. There's already a question. Which software is best, Maya or Blender? That's hard to say. And I will probably not tell something new. A lot of professionals say this when they are asked such a question. And if you want to work in the industry, if you want to work, you say you're from India. I'm not sure how in India it works with freelancing, but I think there's a lot of studios offering jobs in India, a lot of big movie studios. And without exception, I think they work in big software like 3ds Max and Maya. So this is not really about what software is best. This is about where you want to apply your skills. So if you want to get into a big studio, and in your country, I think that would be best, at least for starters. That's what I did in my country as well. I started in a big studio, and then I went freelance. And for that, I learned Maya. So in big studios, Maya, 3D Max, these softwares are still the best. And if you want to go freelance, you can do whatever you want, basically. And for that, Blender is really good. So if you if you don't really want to work in some big studio, you can learn Blender and it will do everything just fine. So that was kind of long answer for that. But yeah, hope I helped. And let's go back to Heroes of Bronze. What happened was I released several videos on my YouTube channel. This one you can see here, I basically showed how I use Skin Gen, which is a plugin for Character Creator. I talked about Character Creator a lot in these past like few months, and there was a Skin Gen plugin coming. That's actually how I discovered Character Creator, and it is this plugin that allows you to create realistic character textures in a matter of seconds, basically, and then export everything to Blender. And in a video called Amazing Skin Texturing with Skin Gen on my channel, you can see how I do that. Then I created this tutorial about cloth sewing. I'm actually not sure now. Somebody was actually commenting on that in the video, and I got so confused what the proper pronunciation is that I've completely forgot how to pronounce it now. But sorry, there seems to be some error. YouTube is telling me some new error that I don't know about. So let me know in the chat if everything's okay. But from the live preview, it seems okay, so it should be all good. One thing I worked on extensively is this scene with ancient Athens, so that there will be a nice shot for my film with that, but more on that soon. And I did quite a lot as I watch it now, but I actually released a course where I gathered all of the first 10 live streams. This is actually season 2 of my live streams, and I did like 10 live streams in the previous year, and I gathered them all into this package, Heroes of Bronze live streams 1 to 10 on my Gumroad. You can get that. There's a lot of techniques for Blender, Character Creator, Substance Painter, everything basically all my workflows I detail there. So I think it's quite useful for anyone who wants to use maybe my pipeline and do some sort of short film or project like I do. And yeah, also, last thing I will tease or introduce is this beards and hair tutorial series that I just started. Currently it just has one part, but soon I will release the rest of the 3 remaining parts, and you will learn everything that I used for creating this character here, or at least the hair, not the whole character, but the hair and the beard. So yeah, you can try it out if you want. And that's it. That's what is new on Heroes of Bronze. I of course did a lot of things, like little things that the project needed. For example, today I finished these seagulls, flying seagulls, because shots with birds are always cooler. Yes, so that's what I'm doing. The little things that need to be tied into the project need to be finished up before I can finish up all the final shots. And again, I teased it, I think, in the last live stream, but yeah, there will be a new teaser soon, hopefully. I just finished animatic for it, and most of the shots are ready, but not polished. So I need to improve the quality of them, and that's what I will be doing in the next few weeks. So wish me luck. But this is not what this live stream is about. It's about this title. So let's get to it. I will actually not be creating all of the models of the letters. I will just create the H letter, because the workflow is the same for all of the letters. It doesn't change, and it would take too much time. First phase will be, we will create this H letter in Blender. Then we will export it to Substance Painter, and I will show you how I created this material for it. This material with slashes and little dents and stuff like that. And also, I actually created a version, and I can't decide whether to have a version with no blood or version with blood. It may be a little morbid to have a movie title with blood on it. I can't decide, but it looks cool. Maybe you can help me. Let me know which one do you think is best. But, you know, it is quite morbid to have a title with blood on it. So, yeah, I will decide somewhat later, probably. There are some questions. Will we have trailer 2 this year? We will, Digital Studio. Yes, I am definitely before the end of the year, another trailer, a bigger one focusing on characters, will be released. I'm sure of that. And let me know if the stream is okay. Let me know if the stream is okay, because I am about to start this workflow. So, Manuel Herrera says that the blood looks badass. It does, right? I know, but still, yeah, it does, right? I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Maybe I will just make it so that it's barely noticeable, and then it will be so morbid. But yeah, it gives a little rougher like feeling to the whole project, because the title is important. The feeling for the whole movie will be drawn also from the title, so it's not a easy decision. But it does look badass, doesn't it? Anyways, Sumyadeep is asking which software is best for motion capture, body and facial. I'm not sure I can say that, because I'm not expert in this field. I know some people use Autodesk Motion Builder, I think. I think in a company where I worked, they used a software called Motion, unless I'm mistaken. I use iClone because I decided to use the workflow with Character Creator and iClone, both software from Reallusion. But I can't say which is best, so sorry for that. I think every software which focuses on motion capture does the job, and it's just how good you learn it. Anyways, next question. If there's a lot of fights in your movie, it's really nice looking with blood, says Strex Mayes. There is a few scenes with fighting, yes. It's not really a movie which I'm creating. It's just it's just a short proof of concept video, like a short film, few minutes. But there will be fighting and there will be blood. So yeah, a little blood maybe. Nice. Someone's asking if I added some lens flares. No, there will be no lens flares in this movie. Lens flares are 10 years ago. They're old. It's just no time for lens flares anymore. Yes, the movie itself is about battle, so definitely there will be battle. But don't imagine it like a continuous big movie battle. It will be more like several scenes of battle, because I can't do too much more, because otherwise I would never finish the film. but yeah, there will be battle. There will be Battle of Marathon, of course. So Manuel says stream looks okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm good. With Indominus Rex. Maybe make some blood splash in background of the title. That's too cheesy. No, it's too much like 300. I won't do that. Sorry. When will the movie be out? When it's done? Sorry, I can't say. It's just my, it's my free time project. I need to make a living, and I do this every time I have free time. But, it's hard doing projects like these. But anyway, no excuses. I aim at early next year. So wish me luck. Anyway, I think we shall start with this. So, unfortunately, in Blender, I think there is some solution in Cinema 4D where you can create font titles with this sort of emboss or protrusion or sharp edges in the middle, I think in Cinema 4D you can do it automatically. I think Andrew Kramer from Video Copilot does have a plugin called, what's the plugin? Element 3D. Element 3D is the plugin, and it also does it automatically. There are definitely solutions where you can do this much easier than in Blender, because as far as I know, and I scoured the internet for answers and I didn't get any, how to do this sort of shape with your letters automatically, I just didn't find an easy solution. So I needed to do it manually. And also, of course, Blender does have a text option here. So if you let me actually activate the key press. Yeah, that's something I learned. No, sorry. So no key press for you. I didn't set it up properly. Anyway, I wanted to show you keys, but next time. Anyway, when I hit Shift A, I bring this add menu, and you can see that there is this text capability. When I click it, let me hide all this. Let me hide even the back plane and unhide this text. When you hit Shift A and click text, you can see that you have a text object here. And it's as easy as hitting tab and just writing Heroes of Bronze. And you can see we have a text here, but there is a slight problem because I can't just right off the bat create an object made of polygons with a good topology. That's the biggest problem I had with this workflow. I wanted to just, create a 3D object out of this and raise the middle section of each letter manually. That didn't work easily. Also, I tried to sculpt it, but that was too long and I didn't have time. So I was looking for an easier solution or faster solution. I will show you that solution, but before that, there is actually a way. If you want to create a movie title, you of course need to have a nice font. You can look at a lot of websites which have fonts like 1001 fonts. I think there's a website called 1001fonts.com, and there's a lot of fonts like that. Of course, what I did was I searched Roman and Greek, and it gave me a lot of fonts like this, but I actually didn't like any of them. The Greek were sometimes too like these really ancient fonts, kind of something like you would see on a temple. If it wasn't in the, of course, the ancient temples didn't have a Latin font on them. They had ancient Greek temples had their own letters in ancient Greek with ancient Greek fonts, so that wouldn't work either. But of course, I wanted to have something like this, which is of course a Latin font, kind of Roman, and I found it in a shape of a font called Weiss. Let me find it, but it's called Weiss Lepidor. So the font that I finally found, and you can find it, it's this one, and you can find it on the website that I just showed. So that is the first step of creating your title. You need to find which font you like, and then you generally download it. And when you have it on your disk, you will find something like this. This is in Czech, so sorry for that. But you will find a file which is a font file, and that you need to load into Blender. So let me hide this and let me work with the text that we created. And when you have this text, let me actually just create this H that we will be making into 3D model, because now it is not a 3D model. We will convert it later. But the way you change a font is down here. And basically you just go here, you choose this one, you find I have a folder here with fonts somewhere. Where are they? Ah, here, and Wise. And you will find this TTF file, which is a font file, and just load it. And you can see from the default one, it changed. So you can use any font you like. One thing I found out, that there is a folder in your C drive or wherever you have Windows installed, and there is a folder in your Windows folder, and it's called fonts. This is where you install all of your fonts. However, there is a problem with this folder, because when you try to load some of those fonts from this folder, a lot of them don't appear. So you will have to end up loading it from the folder where you downloaded it in. Now, it's just a little detail. If you encounter some problem, you will do best not to install the font, but to just load it from where you downloaded it. That really gave me headaches. So yeah, I wanted to let you know about it. Okay, so this object, it has the font that I like, and I will actually just rotate it, put it on the center, and look at it from the front, which is number 1 on numpad. And that's the first or second step. But let me show you. You can, of course, what you can do, I will actually have a look at the questions. Short film, sorry for the movie, but you put in Draxmayer says that I put in so much effort into this project that it feels like a movie. Yeah, it feels like a movie for me too. But yeah, I wanted to look as best as possible, and for that, like 4 minutes of a footage is quite enough for one person. I will probably be growing my team to 2 or 3 person team before the end, but currently I am just finishing, I'm building the scenes, and I will probably hire someone for animations. But yeah, I wish I could do it longer, but no can do. Can't really do it at this point. Bevel. Adam Kobeck says that bevel is the solution for that, but let me actually, it didn't work for me. Maybe if you know how to do it properly, how to bevel an object or a font that we will convert properly so that it has this nice shape that we are after, let me know. But I wasn't able to do that. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, so if you know something I don't, definitely let me know. But basically, what you can do with this font is, first step, extrude it like this, and then you have this. Of course, this is in this font settings menu down here in the geometry, and so you can extrude it, which would be the first thing I would do, and then add some depth. Which doesn't work. So that's not working, not even with a lower resolution. So this is where I failed the first time. Of course, the next step that I would do would be to F3 brings out this search menu. Then you type in convert, and you find this mesh from anything command. So that's what converts your geometry into polygon mesh. But you can see that the topology is not really okay. Definitely, if I wanted to add a line, like, you know, hitting K and adding a line like this, and then bringing it up so that it's basically, it gives the effect that we want, the sharpness in the middle. It gives you a lot of these little normal problems, and then there's this sharp edge, and it's just too much pain. It didn't really work for me as well. I found out that converting the fonts that I get from Blender to polygon meshes just didn't work from what I wanted, and sculpting didn't work with that properly, or it was too tedious. So I searched further, and what I actually decided to do was I will unhide this The final solution for this one, final solution, that sounds ominous. Anyway, I have a letter here that I made with a nice topology. It's not too difficult. Anyone can do that, of course. Something like that is just, you know, easy modeling work. So I took this as a base of my first letter. Then there's some residue from my previous attempt. Then I brought this letter from the front view. I brought it in the same area as my font is. Let me actually delete it and again type in H so that it's font actually, not geometry. Let me again change the font here, rotate it 90 degrees. Basically, I'm just doing what I already did once. So I have this font with the Weiss Lapidar font, and I put this H with a nice topology over it. And now it's just about going in and manually shaping the object into something I want, the shape that I want based on the font that I downloaded. So that's what I will be doing here for a while. I will not be I will not to make it as try to make it as nice as I did when I was actually creating the letter, just to, you know, not to take too much time. But this is a manual work, and unfortunately I didn't find a better solution. And if you have a better solution, I will not be stopping the live stream now, because if you have a better solution and told me now, it would just fuck me up. I couldn't concentrate. So you can write it if you have a better solution for this. Write it in the chat, but I won't read it just yet because I would be too mad to continue. But no, I'm just kidding. But this is what I found out. Basically, shaping an object with a nice topology in a shape of a letter H into the shape of the font that I've chosen. It's quite, you know, fast, nothing too hard. Of course, I did it for all the letters of Heroes of Bronze title, but that's what it takes, I guess, to make nice things. Sometimes you have to go in and make it manually. So here we go, here, push this one here and here. And of course, we can add some geometry. I'm doing it with Control R, of course, which if you work in Blender, you probably know it's a shortcut for adding loop cuts, which you have to know. Control R, definitely learn it, use it. It saved me so much time. And double G slides your newly created edges. That's also important shortcut. Double G, and it slides it down here. And this looks nice. Yeah. I will actually add more edges later on. Now it actually looks kind of okay for me. So this is how I finished my first letter. Let's have a look at it in 3D. And there are some problems with the normals, but just unchecking this auto smooth here in the object data properties is what will work. You can make it smooth. But anyway, we will be playing with this geometry more now. And you can see that we have an H in the shape of the H from the Weiss Lapidar font. So that's what we wanted, and it has nice topology. That's the main difference now. Okay, next thing, let me actually bring out my notes and have a look in the chat. In the text tab geometry profile, there you should be able to use the curve to carve your profile. I'm pretty sure. Adam, go back. I will try that. I will try that. I finished my title already, so it doesn't help me anyway. But maybe I will create in the next live stream I may update what I found with your solution. So I will write it down here or copy it in my notes. And thank you for that, Adam. well, my Sumyadip is asking, my CGI doesn't look realistic. What I do? You should really learn how to, you know, it's this thing. You can't really ask such general questions like this because I have no idea how to answer it for you because it's too broad a question. But practice, do all sorts of tutorials on YouTube and practice your 3D skills, and in time you will get there. That's the only thing I can really tell you. And right here you can see that I'm deleting the back faces of my font because I don't really plan to rotate with my camera around the title. So I know that if I delete them, I will actually save some trouble here. So next thing, I added with Ctrl R edge loops like this. And I'm using, by the way, the X-ray mode here. And I know that there is a little like protrusion or like a downward curve here. So I'm shaping it up a little bit more. And here. And here. And that's about it for the resolution at this point. I actually have, yeah, this seems to be quite okay, this spot, and these triangles. We can get rid of these triangles, just, you know, to feel better. I'm not the best person for clean topology, but if you can delete spots with triangles. And people will like you more, I guess. Hopefully. Good. I didn't do it last time, so now I feel better. Okay, so this is the letter H, and with this, let's actually add some more topology here, because this is the spot we will be raising, and we will add one more edge loop here. One shortcut that's really handy is you select a vertex, for example, you control select, and it will find the shortest path towards that vertex. So if I hit shift here and control, it will find the shortest path here, and shift, control, and we selected these. And now it's just a matter of hitting G, and I usually lock my movement in a certain axis. So you can see down here we have Y axis, so I hit Y and it will lock the movement just in Y axis. You can even hit O down here, this way you activate the proportional editing. I hit G, and with O it will start raising even these vertices around my selection. So, and with, of course, with middle mouse button wheel, you can adjust how much of the selection you will adjust with the proportional editing. So let me make something like this. Now it looks messy, of course, but when I first hit shade smooth, we can use auto smooth and hit Ctrl 1 to add our first subdivision, and then hit again, go into the edit mode, and you can add this edge loop here to make the edges up here sharper, edges down here sharper, and here as well. Or actually, let me, yeah, sharper as well. So we sharpen this, and we of course want this region that we raised to be sharper as well. You can do it by again selecting these areas, shift and control, and I selected it like this. And then I have it in my quick favorites menu, this command to mark sharp, but you can go to, I think, edges and mark sharp, and it made it sharper. Yeah, and we can raise it again. By the way, if you lose this selection of your sharp edges, you can select one of your sharp edges, and to quickly bring up the selection back, you can click select here, select similar, and find this sharpness option. It will basically select similarly sharp edges on your model. It's not really too visible, but now when I clicked it, all of my sharp edges are again selected, and I can bring them up some more. Yeah, that's one thing that I did. And I also, if I show you the banner, let me show you the banner. You can see there is a hard edge around the letters. What I did was, and here comes another useful shortcut. You basically jump into face mode with Control 3, and you hold down Alt, and you click very close to one up or down, above or below one of these edges, and it will select the whole row of edges around your whole model. It's really awesome. I love this command. So then I want to extrude them out along the normals. To easily extrude along the normals, to basically make your geometry thicker, you just hit Alt-E, and there you have this extrude menu where you hit extrude faces along normals, and I'm holding down Shift to, because if I didn't hold down Shift, it would go really like crazy like this. I don't want the extrusion to be so intense. So if you hold down Shift, the effect will be much subtler. Let's extrude it somewhere like this. It looks bad at this point, of course, but if we add a sharp with a one edge loop here, you can see this is the effect I was after, having this little rim here. And this is essentially how I made my letters. I think there was no big revelations here. This is a pretty much straightforward manual workflow, and I didn't really want to sculpt it because to be honest, I'm not really a big friend with sculpting. So when I can avoid sculpting, I do it. but I'm sure there's a lot of you who like sculpting. So definitely you could make a low poly of your H and then jump into the sculpt node and sculpt this detail here easily in Blender. I did it like this. Let me actually get rid of these back faces here that we created with the extrude option. With Alt and left click on this edge, I selected a whole edge here, and with Control Plus, I grow my selection with one row of faces and delete them because I don't need them. I will not be showing the back face of this letter. So that's how I created H. And of course, in Heroes of Bronze title, there is a lot more letters, but all of them I created this way. Basically shaped my letter, shaped my correctly topologized letter into the shape of the font, and then I extruded everything and created this sharp ridge. I will quickly show you how I made, we can actually get rid of this font because we won't need it anymore. And let me very quickly create UVs for this. But before that, I should really look into the discussion because I've been neglecting it. Can you suggest an artist to Dipinaires asking, can you suggest an artist to follow for 2D animation in Blender? Hey everybody, are there any good tutorials for 2D animation in Blender? I don't really do 2D animation, so, but I'm pretty sure that Blender Cloud did some tutorials about their Hero short film, because that's where they featured the grease pencil and grease pencil animation. So I would definitely start there. I'm not sure if they have tutorials, but definitely when you go to Cloud, Blender Cloud, and search for Hero, you will find some files there, or there's a blog, there are some groups. I'm not sure if there are tutorials, but I'm sure there are files that you can dissect. You can just download them for this Hero short film and learn a lot from them. So that's where I would start. But I'm actually not really a 2D guy, so sorry, I can't really help you with that. February Street says, hi there, hello there. Hello there, I'm glad you're all here. And Adam Kobek says that, aha, what is the Adam Kobeck says that there is a new feature in 2.91, and it seems that it's solving. I didn't try it yet, but it may be that in the newest version of Blender this process will be much easier. Anyway, I'm done with it now. So this is how I made my letters manually in Blender. But thank you, Adam, for this tip. I will have a look at that. Theo Pantazi says, yeah, Theo Pantazi says as well that in 2.91 you can create your own profile for the bevel. So yeah, I'll try that. I didn't know about this, and I actually made this title before 2.91 came out. Damn those Blender developers. They will always add a new function that I needed like a year ago. Anyways, I'm of course glad for that. So that's great news. Bastian von Woveren. Hello, sir. I'm glad you're here. The bevel feature. Yes. So thanks everybody for the tips. Anyway, the letter is now finished. You can do it this way if you want, or you can explore the new features in 2.91. It's completely up to you. I will now show you how I made the UVs for this letter. It was quite simple. Basically, with the U, I activated this live unwrap. I like to have it active when UVing. Let me open up the UV editor, and it's a mess. Yes. So the first thing was that I found this edge here that we created along the ridge of the bevel. Again, you can assign this seam that you, sorry for this, of course, when you are UVing, you are basically adding seams to your model, cutting it out and unwrapping it in 2D layout. So for that you add some seams, and I decided that I want this seam here along the ridge. Let me go into X-ray. It's going along the ridge of the whole H letter, dividing it into the area that is facing us and the area that is extruded. So you can add a seam here with mark seam, or you can, what I did was I right clicked on this mark seam and I added it into my favorites. So if you hit Q, you have this command in your favorites, mark seam. And another seam I added was here at these edges. I actually wanted this part to be whole without any seam on beyond this point. So I deselected here and added a seam, mark seam. And you can see it unwrapping here, but basically I just unwrapped the whole thing into two parts. One is the H facing us, it's this one, and then it's the whole bevel area that we created. It's right here, but I will probably cut it in two because it's too large an area and it's making the H a little small. So let me select this area down here and cut it as well, mark seam. And yeah, of course now there's a lot of empty space, but I filled that with my final title. I filled it like this. So yeah, I used a lot of space there with this H number. We can try, of course, go into UV, average island scales. That's what I do, but now it's averaged. And pack islands, it doesn't do anything. I have this very useful add-on that I keep using. It's called UV Packmaster, and I should really update it because there is a new version and I didn't download it yet. But basically, if you pack it with this add-on, which costs just a few dollars, and it's a bargain, and I love this add-on, so definitely use it. And when you pack it, it doesn't give you too much of a better result, but I expected something better from it. But it's probably not possible to do a better result with this. You could, of course, add more cuts, but it's pointless. It's basically, I created all of my letters, then I joined the whole title together. I created UVs for the whole title, and then I was able to lay it out more efficiently with other letters filling the empty regions. I can see that I have some empty space here. I don't know what happened there, but you know, don't look at me. Yeah, so that's the H. And I think we will just go directly into Substance Painter, and I will show you how to create the material that I created for my title. So I know that this is sufficiently laid out, but if you want to check it, you can check it here in this end menu with overlays, stretching, check the area, stretching, and there are some blue regions, but that doesn't really matter. I became very sloppy since I started using Substance Painter because these blue areas used to be a problem with texturing, but not in Substance Painter. So yeah, I will show you. I will use this because this is quite a good UV layout for me. And what you do then is go back to object mode. You select file, export, and you can use OBJ, you can use Alembic if you want, you can use FBX. Let's use FBX, and I will find a folder where I will export my model. So Livestream 11. Let's create a folder here. H underscore, I don't know, export. And very important, selected objects. We want to export just what we selected, not the whole rest of the blend scene. And in geometry, uncheck apply modifiers, but I don't think we have any. We have of course, we have the subdivision modifier there. Actually, let me actually apply this modifier because I want my H letter to be more high res right off the bat. So let me actually have no modifiers here. I applied it, and I will export the whole thing with. Yeah, I said we will export FBX, right? So not DOBJ, but FBX. Jump into the Livestream folder where I want it to export. Letter H, export 01, for example. This is probably the longest export you've ever seen, I'm sure. Selected objects, geometry, uncheck apply modifiers. We have no modifiers, so it doesn't really matter, but yeah, just to be sure. And export FBX. And that's it for this part. Let me start up Substance Painter. There may be a new version of this as well. I should update my Substance Painter, but anyways, I'll have a look. Truxmouse says there is a new version of UV Packmaster 2 and use heuristic packing. That sounds cool. I like the title, and you will be super happy with the results. Yeah, guys, definitely. If you're not using UV Packmaster 2, I will actually find it for you. You must. Basically, for me, it's become one of the most useful add-ons right after Node Wrangler, of course. But UV Packmaster, as you can see, this is pretty self-explanatory. It fills your UV space much more efficient, and it's not that cheap, but it's definitely useful, and I would recommend it to anyone. So definitely go for it. And guys here in the discussion say that there are some neat new functions in the new version. So yeah, all the more reason to use it. Anyways, let's start a new project here. Let me make it 4K. We can always upscale later. OpenGL, because Blender uses OpenGL. We will not be using UDIMs. Actually, in my course, Substance Painter Launchpad, I almost forgot what the name of my course is, but I have a course that I made for CG Boost. You all know CG Boost, I think. And there is a Substance Painter Launchpad course there, and I made a whole chapter about UDIMs and how to use them in connection with Blender there. And let me find it. Let me find, it's actually the third chapter. So I keep updating this course with new updates of Substance Painter, and I make tutorials for the most important new features. So here I released a new chapter with UDIM's functionality, and it's really awesome, but we will not be doing it now. Instead, we will not be checking anything. We will just load our model that we exported. So let me go to this live folder, Livestream 11 export, H export, and hopefully everything will import as intended. And here we have our letter, sorry. I didn't talk in English for quite a long time now, so sorry. I'm kind of slow today, but I will start streaming these live streams regularly again. So yeah, I will be better next time. Anyway, we will not be adding any high resolution mesh for this, but what we can do is very quickly, this is what I like to do, is just to create a layer with height, and down here, yeah, I think you can't see anything because of my head again. It's this terrible thing with sorry. It's this terrible thing with Substance Painter because my head always occludes the most important things in the view. But I will actually address that. I put this unnecessary menu here, and everything else is now visible. So yes, I finally solved it. And I have this layer, this fill layer called height here, and I will from here I will deactivate all the channels from the properties. I will deactivate all the channels except for height. If you want to do it quickly, you just hold down Alt and you click height, and everything except for height will be deactivated. That saves like 2 seconds. So it's awesome. And let's lower the height a little bit. Let me add a black mask and a paint layer onto this. Of course, now I'm really speeding through this. I will not be explaining everything about Substance Painter. I made a course for that, and in my tutorials, even in my free tutorials on YouTube, I talk about Substance Painter, so you can definitely learn it there. But basically what I'm creating is just a mask for height, and we will be masking out little dents and little protrusions into the surface. I have this alpha called paint for that purpose, and I really like to use it for all of my armors, for Heroes of Bronze, for helmets, shields, and everything, and I make little dents with it. See, we probably made this edge a little too sharp, but you can definitely, when you're making the sharpness of these edges, you can influence the value of sharpness, or you can even go without sharpness in Blender and just achieve this result with basically just beveling this edge. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do that, but let's go with this. You can see that I made a little cut here, and let's go some more with this cut. It's always nice to start with these little manual details, and you can even go a little lower with the protrusion. And you know, making manual details always helps because it gives more life to your result. Also, when you're making scratches like this, it's good to think about how the weapon would scrape over. If there was a big letter H in the ancient world standing, and some ancient warrior came to it and started bashing it, probably his weapon would, if his weapon came from here, for example from below, so it would start scraping pretty sharply from here. So there would not be a dot like this here. Maybe it could be, but probably it would start with some sharp edge here. Then there would be the dent where the force was the biggest, and the weapon would go up away from the letter. It would definitely not continue here. So it's always good when you're making details like this to think about the physics of the damage and how it would actually happen in the real world. So that's how I'm making my little dents onto my models, especially shields and helmets. It's always cool to have a helmet that has a scrape over the eye region. It always makes the warrior so much cooler. I think everybody in the movie 300 had some scrape over their eyes. So yeah. And of course, if you just start painting with these paint brushes, I'm actually using the default brush, default basic brush, and I'm using these paint brushes. And if you just use these default paint brushes, it will become pretty obvious soon, even if some rotation, that you keep using the same brush over and over. So what you have to do is go in and with X, sorry, I activated the distance here. With X, I'm switching between adding mask and subtracting mask. So definitely do that. You don't want to make too obvious that you're still using the same type of brush. And the one thing that I don't really like about these alphas is that they have this little dot at the end. So I always get rid of that. I think there's a lot of little detail here. We can add a cut here, make it more random, and one more cut, quite big. This is really just fun, you know. You don't really have to think about it. You can just play some music and add some little dents here and there, and don't think too much about it. It's pretty intuitive, this process. And once you have with it, in my course or in my YouTube tutorials, I actually was using a process where I used something called pre-normals. I basically exported this detail that I just created as a normal map, and then I used it later in the baking process. There is something that I wanted to show you in this live stream where you can basically go around this process, which maybe sometimes it may be too difficult, too unnecessarily difficult. And there is actually one thing that's called anchor points. So if you create your height, you paint it with a paint layer. You can name it scratches, for example. And above it, I will add, from this effect menu, I will add something called anchor points. And let's name it scratches anchor. And that's something basically that stores your data that are underneath this layer with the anchor point, and you will be able to use it somewhere else with different effects, with different generators in Substance Painter. So it's, you know, it's not the most user-friendly functionality of Substance Painter, but this is how it works. You create some layer or layers. It can be multiple layers. And then above it, like an adjustment line in After Effects, you create this anchor point layer, and it will store all the data that you created below it, and you will be able to use this data in different layers. I will soon show you what I mean by that. Let me actually, and now in the next step, we will be creating the bronze material very quickly, very crude bronze material. For that, I will actually bring up some images that I created for this. So we will start. I think I have a base material called Antique Bronze Darkened. So we will add it first. And here you can see it already looks quite interesting, but we can make it better with playing with these properties here. Sean says hello. Hello, Sean. I'm glad you're here. Hi, do save this stream, says Olaf. Yeah, that's one thing I always explain in my streams. I have these streams, of course, public for everyone when they are being streamed. But after they are streamed, I put them onto my Patreon page as a bonus for my dear patrons who support this project. You will be then able to play them anytime you want after the fact. So this is the Patreon page, and you can support my project there, and you will have access if you support with the tier with $5 or above. You will be able to access the live streams. Or I have also my Gumroad page, and there I just released a live stream 1 to 10 package. It's like 10 hours of content for yeah, not regularly cheap or relatively cheap, I think. So you can download it there as well. So there are two options for this. Anyway, let's continue with this bronze material, and I will not be discovering how to use this bronze material now. I have my values already discovered. So let me just add some of the values here in the menu. So this is all good. We will actually switch to triplanar projection because I like this functionality. It basically helps you get rid of the seams that would be visible otherwise. So let's try triplanar for a start. And let's go lower with the scale, like 0.75. It gives this feeling of a crumpled bronze, and I really like that for my purposes. So yeah, that's the first thing I did. And down here, I didn't really change too much. I played with the relief here. Relief, I don't know. This basically brings down the crumpling. Maybe 0.2 or 0.3 would be quite okay. Maybe 0.2 is better. Oh no, not 2, not 20, 0.2. Good. And asperity, leave at 1. Dirt, we can add dirt to it. I think this is quite a nice effect, so let's leave it at 1. And 0.2 to roughness, and it will make it a little more shiny than in the default mode. So this was the base for my bronze. Of course, now let's hit Ctrl G and add it to a folder, title bronze, for example. And I think I will provide this material, this smart material that I create here, I will provide on my Patreon as well. So we will be able to download it after this live stream. So this was the base layer. Now it of course doesn't look too well, you know, pretty default, but we can do better. So the next layer that I created, if it allows me to show it here, okay, was good. Was some edge highlights. That always helps. So I created a fill layer. You can see here you can create a fill layer. Let's call it edge highlights. That's a technique that I do always for my metals. Basically what you want to do is at these edges and sharp points. But by the way, I really made this point very sharp, so that's one thing I would play around with next time, or that's what I did. But you know, I was speeding through it, so I didn't really play enough for this. But this is really very artificial, this hard edge. Yeah, but from the distance it works kind of okay. Anyway, so edge highlights. I have this fill layer, and for this I will deactivate the normals. I will sample some color. Actually, when I hide the layer, I can sample some color directly from this bronze here. Let's make something darker a little bit. Yeah, something like this. The height, let's make it 0.01, something a little lower under the surface, basically submerging under it. Roughness will be 0.2, so it's not too rough. And metalness is of course 1, basically, because this is metal. And this way you actually create something like bronze, but it's lighter, and you don't of course need to use the bronze materials that are provided by Substance or from Substance source. You can create your own. That's what Substance Painter is all about. So this is the layer, but we want to mask it somewhat so that it appears only on edges. So for that, let me add a black mask again, and from here add a generator. Again, I will not be stopping for explaining how Substance Painter works. That's something I explain in a lot of videos on my channel. However, into this generator, I will add a mask editor. And immediately you can see it was masked, but not really the way I want. So let me actually add some image inputs here. Basically in this mask editor, you always have some way of masking different mesh maps. And that's something we, of course, didn't do yet. So I think now is the time to add our mesh maps. Mesh maps are the normal, the world normal, the ambient occlusion, curvature, everything that Substance Painter uses to basically generate the nice, smart texturing results, which is something that it's famous for. So yeah, we definitely need to bake everything, and we don't even need to have some high poly model of this H. We can just bake the normals and everything else from the model as it is. So I will not go into any details here. I will just basically, yeah, I will just bake it. Doesn't matter. We don't really need thickness for this because we won't be doing subsurface scattering. We don't need IDs because we didn't use IDs, and everything else, let's just very quickly bake with 2K resolution. And it's creating our vital maps for that. And that's how very fast it is. Let me make a little bit more space here. Nothing's changed, but now when we start fiddling with the values in Mask Editor, you can see that we have different values here. We have curvature, and we can mask out the curvature, which is something that we just baked. We can mask out regions of ambient occlusion, but that doesn't really do too much. Thickness we didn't really bake, so it doesn't do anything. But again, I have values already predefined, so you can just copy mine. So we can have a little blur. Now let's leave blur at 0. We can give it balance, which basically raises the intensity of this mask editor at 0.6, and a global contrast to something very high, to like 0.9. This is always good to have higher contrast if you want to mask out sharp edges, because if you have lower contrast or zero contrast, basically your whole mask is spread over your model, while if you have higher contrast, it gives more definition to your mask. You can just see it here. Basically, if I raise the contrast up, you can see that it's very, very contrasty, very sharp. If I lower it, spreads all over the model. So let's go with something like 0.9. I will add some texture to break it down. You always have an option to add some textures here. Texture 1, texture 2, and down here you can plug them in. I already decided I want to plug in some grunge map. So yeah, let's plug it in. And up here you can raise it and you can see how it's affecting it. Just plugging in this texture destroys the uniformity of this edge. So that's something you should consider doing always. Texture 2 opacity, we can raise it up, but I think that's too much. So yeah, something like 0.2 will do with this concrete map. Yeah, this is looking quite nice. Okay, next thing, curvature. Let's leave it like this. I think it's quite okay. And that's it. That's it for this. What we can do, you remember how we created this height layer and we added the anchor point. Well, now we can utilize this layer with the scratches, and we can activate the anchor point down here. So I have my mask editor of the edge highlights mask selected, and down here there is this little inconspicuous micro height option, and if you click it you have no idea what it is, but for the longest time I didn't have any idea as well. But basically you can here activate any height information that you already sculpted in the process, or painted in the process, which we did. And here you can see that we have some anchor points. So I want to source my data from the anchor point I already created. So I just click it. Nothing happens. Yeah, this is very confusing because most of the time nothing ever happens when you activate it down here. Let me have a look. Keep alpha, let's leave it like that. With levels we will probably later play, but the reason why nothing happens when you activate this is because you have to activate it up here as well. Let me find it. Micro details here, micro height and curvature, and yeah, you can see something happened, and it takes into account what we sculpted at the very beginning. So if you don't want to bake, if you don't want to bake your manual painted data of height, you can just activate these anchor points here. And again, I talk about all this in my Substance Painter Launchpad course in much greater details. I will not be stopping too much for now, for this now, but yeah, this is the way you can take into account anything, any height you painted in Substance Painter. So yeah, I activated it. We can play around with the intensity of that. So, and actually, let me deactivate the height of this. I don't want this layer to, or even instead of completely deactivating it, let me just lower it to something much lower. And let's go back to the mask editor and we can play around with the intensity of this. Cool. So with and without, I think it adds a nice resolution down up here. And we can continue with the next layer. And that is some dark fill for these regions here. We want to fill it basically with some dirt. So let's create another layer, another fill layer. Let's call it darkening, for example. Deactivate the normal. I think some dark color like this will do. Height will be, let's actually not use height. I just want to fill those regions here. I don't want to create a new height information. For the roughness, we will go with some high number like 0.9 because dirt is usually very rough. It's not reflective. And metallic, let's deactivate metallic because it's not metal at all. Yeah, this looks some darkening where little dirt is accumulated. And what our goal is now is get it into this regions here. So let's create a black mask again. Oops, sorry, black mask. I hope everything is good with the stream. And we're still streaming. That's good. Yeah, for a while I was afraid that I'm just talking here for myself. But I created this darken layer and I want to fill these protrusions and little crevices with it. So how to do that? Yeah. Actually, yeah, we will create a dirt later. At this point, I want to create, I will show you what I want to create with this layer. A little change of plans here, but I think this will be a better time to show it. I will activate this layer here and I will show you what I have on the textures. If you have any questions, definitely ask them. Is this material by default? February Street is asking if this material, this antique bronze, is by default in Substance Painter. And the author, when I right click on it, it says author algorithmic. So I think this is a substance source material. You have to have access to substance source to have this material, but there are tons of bronze materials in different areas of the net. You can download bronze from the net for free. You can download it from Substance Share platform. Let me very quickly. While Substance Source is something you have to pay for, there is this free exchange platform called Substance Share. And when you search there for bronze, let's see what it gives us. Yeah, there is this brass, bronze patina, and different other bronzes as well as smart materials. There could be some smart materials. So definitely check Substance Share. This is where you find free resources. And if you have substance source access, let's have a look. Antique bronze. Ah, here it is. So that's where I got it. It's a very useful material because it has these little dents that I showed you earlier. It created this little detail here, like it's a crumpled sort of bronze. So I really, really like that. But if you understand Substance Painter, you definitely have an option to create it yourself, and it's not even too hard. But yeah, I personally recommend to have Substance Source access because you have tons of materials here for every need. So yeah, that saved me hours of time. Yeah, Trexmouse says there is some bronze material that is looking almost the same. Bronze materials in Substance World are everywhere, so it shouldn't be too hard. Sean says he hasn't seen me for a while. Yes, I haven't been streaming for a while now because I had some holiday these days. I needed to take a little break from all of the work that I've done in the last few months, but I'm back and I will be streaming again regularly. So yeah, that's good news, I hope. Okay, so let's continue with this. So let me actually rename this layer because I decided to change what I want to do with it. And I want to create little gashes. And let me show you what I mean. These, you can see these gashes. These are not actually created by the manual method that we did at the beginning. Instead, I use the texture for that. So let me automate this process of creating gashes. Instead of having them manually like this, we can even add them procedurally. And the way I do that is I have this layer with gashes. We already set it up. Let me make it darker. You know, I will remove the mask for a while just so we know how the layer looks. So let me create a very dark layer with gashes like this. Let me make it very rough. Let's lower the height to be something like negative 0.01 or 0.09 for example, and or 0.08 will be probably better. Roughness is okay, metallic, it's not metallic at all, and normal, we don't need normals. So yeah, this is the base of the base of the layer. Let's add a black mask, and now we will create little gashes filled with dark color onto our model. For that, we will not fill this black mask with a generator, but with a fill layer. So let's create this fill layer, and into this grayscale window here, we will actually add a texture called grunge scratches. That should be default in Substance Painter. And I think it's this one. Oh yeah, right? Awesome. This looks really battered. I like that. But you can see that, yeah, well, it actually works quite nice because some of the scratches continue across the borders. But you know what? I actually quite like it. I think now the gashes are much deeper than I originally had them. But it looks even cooler, right? And with this grunge scratches mask or fill layer, you can actually adjust a lot of things here, a lot of parameters of this texture. So you can add or lower the scratch quantity. How cool is that? I love that. I love Substance Painter. Did I ever tell you that I do? Yeah, I probably did. Anyways, you can adjust the scratch width. You can adjust the scratch length like this. So yeah, that's how I created it. Dirtiness. It's probably, this dirtiness is probably subtracting some sort of texture from the scratches. Double scratch, wow. Yeah, all sorts of different adjustments you can make with this, and it's real fun to experiment with that. But yeah, you can see that now we have some extra scratches, and now the H looks really cool, really battered, like it's seen some shit. Yeah. So yeah, I actually don't really like this horizontal one, so let me actually adjust the positioning of this. And when you click on the fill layer again, you have always the scale, rotation, and offset options here, so we can rotate it maybe. Or offset it. Yeah. No, I don't really like this, but probably the rotation will be better. Let's find some nice setting for the rotation. Something like this. Ooh, yeah, this scratch is too long, so yeah, this looks good. Okay, let's not waste too much time on this, but this is how I created gashes with just one layer, filled and masked, and it looks really cool. And now, of course, I want to fill these old manual details as well with dark color. So let me actually Control D duplicate the layer, clear the mask, and name it dirt. Of course, there are other ways to make dirt. You can add texture to this dirt. You can make it much more detailed. But for my case, I will just go with a really dark, really rough fill layer. And what I want is to add the dirt into these little details that we created originally as well, because it looks really. And let me actually get rid of this alpha here, because it's really hard to point at stuff. These regions here are not filled yet, so that's what I want to do now. So let's go. The way we do it, let's add a generator. Let's choose a mask editor, and we will use that anchor point now. I want to use this mask editor just to fill these regions with the anchor point. So let me actually deactivate the curvature. When I deactivated the curvature on the mask editor, basically I deactivated everything. When I hide the layer, nothing's happening. So the mask editor is now completely useless. But what I want is to go down here again, activate the micro height and the scratches anchor point that we created at the very beginning. And in this micro details tab, activate the micro height. And this is the case where nothing's happening, because we need to play around with the values a bit here in the levels menu. And I hope this works, because even though I taught several lessons about these things, sometimes they just do not work. And maybe, yeah, that maybe is because we completely deactivated the curvature and everything. So, yes. And we have to raise the global balance as well. So no matter what I would do, nothing would be happening. So after raising the balance a bit, we brought out those little regions of the detail that we added at the beginning. So that wouldn't work if I didn't do that, if I didn't raise the balance. But now you can see that we achieved the result, but it's not looking too great. Actually, I don't like that there are these regions at the edges. It almost looks like it's dirtied a bit. I think that's because I raised the ambient occlusion. No, so the curvature. Let's raise it very carefully. Let's deactivate the ambient. The ambient doesn't seem to do much. So definitely it's this curvature opacity slider here. And what is the problem? I like that it's filled now, but I don't really like these regions here. One thing that I never noticed when I started working with Substance Painter is, of course, I knew about all these sliders here, these default sliders. But I didn't notice that there's this little arrow here. When you click it, you have all these options for curvature. So yeah, here you can basically adjust anything. And let's see what we can do in this advanced menu here, because here you have various types of curvature that you can adjust individually. You can change the mode, so you can switch from edges to cavities, which is nice that we filled our cavities here, but the effect on our manually created detail was effectively inverted. So that's not what I want. But maybe that's because down here I inverted the option. Ah, yes. I inverted the option of the micro height. When I invert it back, you can see that this is exactly what I wanted from the beginning. And we filled all of our little details this way. Not all. For that I would probably have to raise the global balance as well. Some more. We can even blur it a bit, I think. Oh, well, maybe blurring is not such a good idea. Just a little bit of blurring might do. And one thing, we can play around with these options down here. So we can play around with the sharp details, with fine details. Definitely experiment in this menu here, because yeah, I told you that I didn't really like these regions here. You can go around and lower the soft and medium areas, those large ones as well, and the big ones and the huge ones. And that almost got rid of all of the big curved areas, but it didn't get rid of the fine ones and the sharp ones. So that's what I really like. So definitely have a look at this menu that you can open up here. That's something I didn't really know about for like a first year of my working with Substance Painter. So yeah, there's a lot of options there. Anyways, and if you fail to basically achieve the result by adjusting these sliders, you can always go in, add some paint layer, and manually, for example with a dirt brush, which is my favorite for this sort of job, you can manually paint out any regions you don't like. So yeah, with combinations of these techniques, I think nothing can stop you in masking exactly what you want. And here, and here. Yep, that's it. And I think the dirt is really, really dark, so we can lower the overall opacity of the dirt like this. Something like 80, for example, and the gaseous as well. And that's it. This is how I created the slashes across the model. It looks really, really like somebody really didn't like this H letter at all. So yeah. And the next layer, the final one that I created, was yeah, I created another dirt layer, but this is just a just an overall dirt layer that we will be not masking anything on it. I basically just copied my dirt from previous layers, and onto the mask I created again fill, and I found some nice grayscale. So ratio dirt, I think, or dirt just in general. And when you type into this grayscale menu here, when you type in dirt, you will be able to choose from any dirt you like. What I wanted to go for was something like these, like this pattern here. And of course, we can, for this one, deactivate the height so that it's just generally dirty, and lower the opacity. And by the way, another thing that you might not know if you're just starting with Substance Painter is that, or maybe you can't really wrap your head around it like I did, is that you have this slider here, or this pull down menu here. And if you're lowering the opacity of this layer, you're not lowering opacity of all the channels. You have to, if you want to, for example, lower the opacity of the roughness, you can see here when I lower this down to 0, this dirt layer still takes effect. That's because I'm lowering down the base color opacity, but not the roughness opacity. For that, you have to switch to roughness and lower the opacity of that as well. So that's one thing you should definitely know about Substance Painter. And with this layer, I achieved a little bit of overall dirt across the whole model. That's also very important every time you're creating your model. Let me very quickly go back to this fill layer here with the dirt that we just added. We can switch to triplanar, just to avoid any problems with seams, and probably lower the scale, because I want my splotches of dirt to be slightly bigger. And that's it. Yeah. This added the last layer of detail. One thing that I showed you at the beginning, I added a little blood. I have, and I'm not sure I will be able to find it now. I will actually have a look at the questions in the chat. Wow. Narek Avetisiana, I'm sorry, is asking, can you also recreate season 8 so it doesn't suck total balls? I'm not sure what you mean. Season 8? Season 8, or like a live stream number 8? Or what was live stream number 8? I'm not sure what you mean, sorry, by season 8. Of course, Game of Thrones. I'm sorry for that. You mean season 8 of Game of Thrones, right? No, but I would love to. That would be awesome if somebody redone season 8 of Game of Thrones. But I'm not sure it will ever come to that. So yeah, it would be lovely if somebody did that. Well, that was a random comment, but thank you anyway. Hello from Russia. Hello, sir. It is not so convenient to deal with textures in Blender. Narek asks, what can you do in Substance Painter that you can't do in Blender? Well, you can do everything in Blender, but you can do everything more conveniently in Substance Painter. And this is if you are planning to become 3D artist in any way, time is always of the essence. So you want to do your job effectively and fast, and Substance Painter allows you to do that. This is the same case for Marvelous Designer, for example, for clothing. Of course, you can do clothing in Blender, but it will be a real pain, and I know because I really tried to do nice clothing in Blender. But fact is, in Marvelous Designer, this is much faster, and in Substance Painter, it's much faster to do texturing because you can create all sorts of smart materials. You have all sorts of smart masks. You can see now by just several clicks, I can add unlimited amount of detail onto my model. And yeah, that's what I love about this software. So yeah, that's the main advantage, I think. Anyway, there is a special smart material. Speaking of smart materials and how awesome this software is, there is a special material that I use for adding blood. And let me actually add it above my group with the bronze layer. And with just one click, you can see I made my material bloody. It is actually, I will try to find JV Blood 1. Let's search quickly on Google for JV Blood 1, and it didn't find anything. Yeah, that's something I didn't prepare for this live stream, but if you have a look at Substance Painter, Blood, Smart, I can't even type properly these days, Smart Material, of course, the first search is successful. This is a blood material that you can download from ArtStation probably by Jasper Wick, and for just $6. Yeah, Just $6. You can download this material that creates such an awesome blood directly in Substance Painter. And the way it works, basically you download the smart material, and just like I did now, you put it onto your model. It adds these blood splotches everywhere, and you have this paint here, layer here. Basically, you don't have to know anything about it. You just add it there, and then of course you have some you have a lot of layers here. You can study them, you can learn from them, dissect the whole smart material, but you can also just paint onto the layer that says paint here, and it will add the blood you want. So that sounds very terrible, but yeah, fingerprint, for example. I think something is not right here, but basically this is the way it works. You add this blood. Oh, okay. Yeah, this I need to relearn again how I made this smart material to work. But it should be really easy, and there is a tutorial, of course, if you buy this product. So I'm sorry I couldn't show you, but there is a demo video. So if I gave it like 5 minutes, I would relearn it again. It's safe to say though, I was able to achieve my blood effects with this material very quickly. And so if you want, you can download this JV blood material and you just put it there. By default, it is very strong and it has some height active for that. So basically in my variation of the material, I deactivated the very intense height effect there. And yeah, just play around with the splotches and it looks like it's bleeding. And of course there are various effects then which it consists of. I'm really troubled by the height here on the bronze material. It doesn't look good, but because I guess blood would not dent the bronze like this, but it's just a matter of finding where the height information is present. Yeah, it wasn't so hard. It's directly on this layer at the lowest level. Maybe if I invert it, no. So yeah, let's just get rid of it. And I think now it looks like a nice sort of blood. So yeah, that's one product I'm using in Substance Painter. Effectively, this is it. This is it for how I created my letters. I just then went into exporting textures, which I will not stop at. By the way, I forgot to name my material, but let me rename it here. H, for example, or font material. So export textures. You then just find your preset for exporting this. So I have this Blender export. Again, on my YouTube channel, I detailed this several times. So yeah, this is my preset for exporting to Blender. And let's just very quickly export this. Find where to export it. Yep, global settings. Find where you want to export this. So Grease folder, live. Sorry, I should have saved the location, but textures folder and export it there. Quickly check. PBR metallic is quite fine. PNG is the best format. 8 bits is quite okay for this. Size, yeah, let's not change it. It's based on the 2K that we worked with. And export. And that's how fast it is. And go back in Blender now. We have this title here, but we also should have our H letter somewhere. Where did I hide it? Ah, here it is. Good. For a while I was a bit nervous that I deleted it. So we have our H letter here, And of course, it doesn't have a proper material. So let's just delete the material that is present, create a new one. Principled BSDF is quite okay. Name it H. Go to shader editor. And the best trick I've ever learned. So if you select your principled BSDF shader, and if you really quickly want to plug in some PBR textures, you just select it, hit Control Shift T, and find all the text, all the textures that we exported from Substance Painter. So again, go to this export, and here you can see we have base color, height, metallic, normal, and roughness. I think we can go without height because what Substance Painter did is it converted all the height information into normal anyway. So let's just select all these, or just these 4 textures, and plug them as principled texture setup. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. Very quickly, I created this letter H in the style I wanted, with some nice blood, made by Jesper Wick. And then it's just about creating the rest of the letters. I thank Adam again for pointing me to the newest version of Blender, where this sort of effect of beveled font should be much easier to do. I did it manually, so yeah. It's pity that some of those features in new Blender versions I needed like 1 or 2 years ago, but no, I like it. The developers are always trying something new, and that's really good from them. So yeah, this is it. This is how I created this letter, and the final result, of course, is this one. Heroes of Bronze with some black plane behind it. I just added an HDRI of my favorite HDRI from HDRI Haven called Spruce Sunrise. It's this one with a really intense sun. I think I can yeah, just Spruce Sunrise. You will find it on Google. Just download it. I use 8K or 4K versions. That's what I used as an HDRI, and I used 2 spotlights coming with some sort of cold light from the top. Or it's not actually point lights, spotlights, it's point lights. So I have it named incorrectly. Sorry for that. Point 1, point 2. Yeah, point 2. And point 2. Come on. Okay. So yeah, I added 2 lights like this. 1, 2. And it's awesome. I just love that I can now, you know, play around with the light, and I have my own movie title for my short film. So that's awesome, right? And of course, the HDRI does the job. Yeah, and the biggest question of all now, if I should use the bloody material or the no blood material. That's the question. Anyways, this is how I created the title. I hope you like it. I'm not saying that I won't work on it some more, but this is title for Heroes of Bronze. And I finally have a title that I promised for like a year now. Anyways, I think that's it for this live stream. If you have some questions, definitely ask them. February Street is asking, Martin, will there be tutorials on creating trim, tile textures, and atlases in Painter? Interesting idea. Never thought of that, but yeah, I will. I have this document where I write all of the ideas for next tutorials. So I'm officially adding it in February Street. So thank you. Trim, tile textures, and atlases. Okay. Lola. Yeah. Anyway, Yeah, Narek is saying, yes, I meant Game of Thrones is just a little joke. Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope somebody will, like in like 20 years, somebody will hopefully recreate Game of Thrones from the scratch, so it does have a good ending. Not really good ending, but quality ending. Anyways, I love that series. I really loved that, but the 8th season, yeah, it wasn't good. Traxus saying, this is super amazing. I'll be grateful to you for my whole life. Oh, wow. I didn't expect that, but I'm really grateful that you feel that way. You gave me a lot of motivation and taught me a lot of new things. I'm really glad. That's what this channel is for. And that's what these tutorials, I really want people to produce quality films on their own, because it's the biggest adventure in this 3D field you can do, creating your own damn movies. So yeah, I just love that we have all these options now with Blender, which is free, and Substance Painter, which is not free, but it's awesome. And it helps you a lot. And all this new software like Character Creator, which is damn expensive, but you know, it really allows me to do what 10 years ago was not possible to do. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity, because now I can make the historical era that I really love, which is ancient Greece, I can bring it to life basically by myself. I'm not saying this is good that I'm doing it by myself, because definitely if I created a team now, I would be able to finish this project much faster, but I wouldn't be able to pay them yet. And I'm really focusing on creating as much as I can on my own, because I love the way it teaches me stuff. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. February Street says, thanks, amazing work. Thank you too. Thank you for watching. And I hope this live stream was useful. As I said, I don't know yet what I will be showing you in the next live stream, but I really would love if from now on, again, these live streams will be every 2 weeks. So on my Patreon, I will be adding polls where you will be able to vote when you want the next live stream to happen, or what sort of topic you want for the next live stream. So definitely, if you don't already, you can support the project there. That helps me a lot, and I'm really grateful for that. So just find my name at Patreon, or it's, I think, in the description of this video, so it shouldn't be too hard to find that. And I will be working some more on Heroes of Bronze now. I actually added a preset with my beard and hair. You can download from this Patreon page, and there's a lot of free stuff that you can get there. So definitely, it's not just that you will be paying me money, but you will actually get a lot of content for free there. So yeah, just saying. Okay, anyway. Pink Pocket says, your work is really great. Thank you so much. I'm really happy that this project was able to grow from 0 to this stage in a matter of 1.5 years or something like that. And I'm finishing up. I'm really, at this point, I'm getting into the final stage of the project. So it's very exciting. I'm putting together final shots now, and I have everything I need already. So I think in these difficult times, this project really helps me to keep my sanity, because everything around in the world seems very bleak these days, with COVID and all the social justice stuff, and war is hanging in the air. I don't know which war it may be, but there seems to be problems everywhere in the world. So definitely, I think projects like these help people to really realize what they have in their heads and feel better because they're doing something they love. So I recommend it to everyone, and hopefully this channel will help you achieve your own stuff. And yeah, with that, I hope you will be following my videos on YouTube here. I will be finishing up the hair and beard tutorial series in a matter of weeks, so definitely watch out for that. And in 2 weeks time, I hope to share with you another live stream number 12. Okay, with that, I wish you good night or good morning or anywhere else in the world you are, or maybe good lunch maybe. And I hope you will stay creative, and goodbye, my friend. See you next time.